It's March 12th. Wait, gotta start over.
Go ahead, just keep going.
Okay, March 11th, 2008, and we are interviewing our veteran Beatrice H. Goldblatt, and she was born on
February 22nd, 1923.
Okay, and you served in the Women's Army Corps. Okay, and the highest rank achieved was?
But that was in the, we were discharged from the WAC and commissioned in the U.S. Army Medical Corps.
Okay.
As second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant, okay. And that was in which town? Or
Where
city?
we were commissioned?
Yes.
At Lawson General Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. And, let's see, this interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. So, with that, how about a few biographical details, B? Can you tell us where and when you were born?
Oh, I was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1923, and went through grammar school, high school, and went away to college, and subsequent to that joined the Women's Army Corps.
So, and were your mother and father, what was their occupation?
Mom was a housewife, and my dad was, he had they don't have them anymore. He had a ladies' wood heel factory that he inherited from his father.
I see. And brothers and sisters?
I have twin brothers, God bless them, now deceased, and identical twins. Both served in the military. One became both dentists, and they served both in the World War II and in the Korean War.
Okay. And other family members who served in the military?
Well, cousins and
Friends?
you know, boys, all the boys on the block served in the military, but did I know any other women who? No, I didn't know any other women who served in the military. I was an anomaly.
No. Before you went into the service, what were you doing? Were you working or in school?
College.
College? Which college?
I went to Beaver College in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania. But I also, because I wanted to go through quickly, do you mind?
Yeah, we'll stop.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, so I decided to go through college in 3 years. So in addition to going to Beaver College, summers I went to New York University and Columbia University.
Okay. And how did you end up entering the service? Enlistment? Draft?
Enlistment.
Enlistment for a woman?
Volunteer, you know.
Volunteer, right. And why did you choose the particular branch of the service that you did?
Well, my dad would have preferred me to go into the Navy and have gotten a commission, but I was, I guess I was very bullheaded and probably still am, and so I chose to go into the Army as an enlisted woman.
Okay, and how was that a change from your early days in school? Was it much more rigid?
Oh, certainly.
What were the early days of training like?
I wasn't a good soldier. You know, I had been rather protected with school and then camps in the summer, and well, maybe I'll turn the video off for 1 second. I felt that girls needed some privacy in the heads, and yeah, I guess I did a lot of KP because of that.
So those are some of the stories of the early training. How hard was the training at first?
Well, we had to learn, of course, to march and to, it was tough because
Drill sergeants?
we had drill sergeants the whole life, you know, it was a different kind of life we went to classes to be oriented into the Army and what their expectations were of us. And it was tough because, you had to march and they'd always say, "Goldblatt, you're bobbing." Out of step. Anyway, at the same time, it was such a different life that it was enjoyable. I mean, there was the great part to it of meeting women that otherwise I would never have met, and we were all so young. I mean, we were girls, we weren't women. To me, if somebody was 26, that was old. They should be married and have a family by then. That's how we looked at life. Anyway, it was very, very interesting.
How was the food, social life?
I always ate the food. I had a very good appetite, and my kids always gave me their leftovers. And social life, there was really none. My memory, and you might not want to video this, was when my mother and dad came down and took a whole bunch of us girls to, it was like where they had dancing and some kind of theatrical thing and eating. And it possibly was the first time some of the girls had been, to a place like that. And my dad danced with every girl.
Wow, that's really cool. So
It's a nice memory because my dad died when I was in Camp Atterbury.
Oh, okay.
Which was just a short time after that.
After that, yeah. Wartime service, can you kind of list for us all the different places that you were in the Army Corps at?
Yeah. Oh, I just came to me, I believe it was Fort Oglethorpe in Tennessee, but I'm not sure. I think that's where I took basic training. Then went to Camp Atterbury in Indiana and was sent to lab technician school, and then Lawson General Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, and then from Lawson, that's where we were commissioned, I went to England General Hospital in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and then the war was over.
Just
So,
like that.
Discharged, yeah.
So what were some of your memories relating to the casualties and to the servicemen and women that you saw?
Well,
Hard memories, I can imagine.
hard memories. Like I said, you'd see a boy one day paraplegic, and next day his bed might be empty. My amputee ward was great because the boys were happy to have given only a below-the-knee leg, and they were safe. And most of the boys that we got were from the South Pacific.
From the South Pacific Theater? So, and that would instill quite a bit of emotion then, both for doctors and nurses and the veteran themselves.
Yes.
So,
And we were all, like I say, we were all kids in a way. I mean, who could be happy about losing half a leg? But they were. And they used to play tricks on me because I would go to a guy, to give a massage or whatever we were taught. And it was like John Smith, lower right leg, amputated at below the knee. And so I'd go, and this boy in this bed that I was supposed to see had his right leg, and I'd say, "Oh, you're missing the wrong leg." And they would all think that was so funny because what they would do just to pique me was to change beds, of course.
Oh, I see.
So just to, because they were high-spirited, and we all were. And then maybe you ought to turn this off a minute. They used to say,
Let's see, it's back on, right? Were there special friendships formed between doctors and nurses, especially working in this type of a ward and
Well,
trauma?
we weren't allowed to, because we were in school and we were still in the WAC, we weren't allowed to date enlisted men, nor were we, because we were going to be officers. We were in officer candidate school at the same time as physical therapy. And we weren't allowed to date officers because we weren't officers. So that made it a little tough. And the only way you could date was, you know, on the QT, surreptitiously, so nobody would know. And yeah, so social life was mostly, you know, among girls. And then our studies, doing nine months in what takes 2 years, you know, anatomy and physiology and everything, was very difficult. And did I form friendships? Yes, because a girl I still know who lives with her husband in Las Vegas, outside of Las Vegas, we're still fairly close friends. She would stay up at night and help me with the studies because my dad had died, and I was going through the trauma of loss at that time, so it was tough.
How did you stay in contact with your family? Letters or
With my
phone calls?
Well, my dad would call me once a week when he was still alive, and letters to my mother, and phone calls, yeah.
And any favorite recreation pursuit? Your favorite thing to do during those times?
No, we
No.
studied.
Studied.
We studied.
Okay, and okay, now the war has ended. It's 1946, and you've been discharged. And where were you when you were discharged?
I was at Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Okay, and how did you get back home?
Well, Mother had moved after Dad passed away to Monroe, New York, which is about 65 miles out of the city. And it was a whole new life for me. I started then going to, I went to lab technician school for 6 weeks, and then got a job in Newburgh, New York, as a lab technician at St. Luke's Hospital.
Was it a big reception when you came home, or more or less low key?
Very low key.
Very low key,
Yeah.
okay. And was it hard to readjust to civilian life?
Well, since I'd really been a student, you know, most of my life, yeah, my brothers were still in the service, and although we had spent summers in that town, I didn't know, I didn't know people in the town, but I got to know some people, yes.
Did you also remain friends with other service people that you met?
Yes, a few.
Yeah.
But actually, the only one that I'm still in touch with is Florence Wilson in Las Vegas,
Las
and her
Vegas.
husband.
And did you join any veterans organizations after the war?
No, I have only recently, the last several years, joined the Jewish War Veterans here. And they have meetings once a month and do a lot of work at the Veterans Hospital, volunteer work. But unfortunately, I have not been in a position to do that.
Right, and reflecting, how do you think wartime experience affected your life as a whole?
Oh, I think it expanded my view of life tremendously, because I was, all of us who were in the service were in a position that was unique from anything of our prior life experience or subsequent life experience. So I thought it matured us quickly, I think.
And life lessons learned from the military?
acceptance of people, of different ways of life, possibly being able to take orders a little better. I think primarily things that you learn as you grow up and become older than we were at that time.
Okay. And then after the service, you also obviously got involved with canines.
Yes, I came to California because I had a boyfriend who had come here, and I went to my first dog show, and my mother had sent, is this really, just really? My mother had sent out a dog from the East that I had, in the service, I was always saving dogs, and was brought up on a, what do you call it? You know, when you have like a military court, what is that called?
An inquiry or something like that?
No, that's what it turned out to be, but it was like, there's a word for it, a military court.
Court-martial?
Yeah, court-martial. And all of the officers were there. This is when I was at Lawson General Hospital, and they were considering, putting me out of school and everything because I was always saving dogs. And the one who had the highest rank became the head of our group of students. There were 30 of us, and 11 of us actually completed everything and graduated and were commissioned. But anyway, I won't mention her name, but I still remember it. And I came into the barracks, and she had either slapped a dog who was on the bed. Bob was the dog that I finally sent to my mother. But she was a sergeant then, and I picked her up by her tabs, and I was less than 110 pounds, and she was a big girl. And I picked her up by her collar tabs, and I said, if I ever see you hit a dog again, I will kick you from one end of this barracks to the other. That's why I came up on the court-martial.
The charges.
Yeah. I was being, what do you call it,
Insubordinate.
Insubordinate to a superior.
Okay, well, and so you spent 52 years raising dogs, dog shows,
I have, yes.
medals, and
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I've also been fairly successful, and I've had some great dogs. And many of the people who were here on my 85th birthday recently have had my dogs, different generations of dogs. One man said, I've had Bee's dogs for over 30 years, and, was so happy. And as one woman said when she left here, who doesn't have dogs, she said, you could feel the love in the room. It was just incredible. It was really great.
all right, great. Well, that concludes our interview, and we want to thank Bea for sharing those memories with us today.
I thank you.
That's it.